Hi, thanks for joining me today. Today our topic is augmented reality integration into elementary teaching. Our agenda includes an overview about augmented reality, what is it, some related research to augmented reality, using the Google Translate app, Lesson Plan 1 idea and Lesson Plan 2 idea, and then a summary and conclusion. Augmented reality defined. Augmented reality is simple. It adds a layer of digital media to your existing viewpoint. You simply use some kind of a device. It could be a phone, it could be an iPad. You open up an app, and within the app, you change how you perceive whatever's in your viewpoint. It permits you to modify your current viewpoint within the application. When you start to integrate AR into teaching, you want to keep it simple. At first, start out as the consumer. Use what's already available to you within various AR apps, and then move into creator mode where you start designing your own augmented reality lesson plans. I would start with short, simple lessons to introduce the various applications, and as your comfort level begins to increase, then you move to abstract concepts. Move into the design and the development of different applications using different types of AR apps that are available to you. And then make sure that you share your AR designs with others to inspire them and to help lead the way with technology integration. Let's talk a little bit about building concepts and confidence. And as you use the technology more and more, your confidence will build. When you build on your existing knowledge and technology skills, you want to think about a few things. First, think about what kind of technology you're already using, and then just add to it. It's good to start small and then move into something more. When you're first teaching a new lesson plan that involves a technology that's new to you or you're not as familiar with, I suggest you start with a very small sample size. So if you're teaching in a classroom and you're doing group work, start by teaching one small group and allow them to use the app, and that way you build your confidence in using the app and teaching other people how to use it. And once you've done the small group work, you can troubleshoot and determine what's the best way to approach it. After the small sample size, you can move into a larger classroom, and then you'll have a whole set of technology skills that will allow you to troubleshoot if you come into problems. I do recommend that you test out the internet connections before you actually teach a large class lesson. Do have extra iPads or extra hardware available to you. It will save so much time if you have the students work in small groups instead of using one-to-one technologies. Because if you're running into problems with one particular iPad or one particular phone, it's simple enough to swap out the phone and give them a new iPad or a new phone rather than trying to troubleshoot. One way to start by using AI is to use a simple app like Google Translate. This is a very commonly used app, and many people have already used it for simple translations. One possible lesson plan is to create some conversation starter questions written in English. Then you can use Microsoft Word to translate the English to other languages. Then print out the questions on half sheets of paper. I suggest you use PowerPoint slides, do 2 on a page, because you'll want to distribute these. And then finally, students will use the Google Translate app to translate the questions and then discuss their questions with a partner. It's a very simple lesson plan idea. You want to think about the types of questions you include. For example, you want to make sure that you're designing questions that meet your specific goals. If you're including questions related to the curriculum, write questions that are a review of content material. This might be something you use for an upcoming quiz or exam. It helps the students to build their communication skills. If they're discussing the questions with a partner, then make sure you write questions that are open-ended and very engaging. You can also include questions that serve as a meet and greet. Perhaps it's the beginning of a school year and you want students to write questions, or you want to write questions that allow students to talk to one another and get to know each other on a more personal level. As I mentioned previously, I think a good idea is to print out your questions and distribute them to your students. And an easy way to do this is to take your questions and add them to a PowerPoint slideshow and then print out the PowerPoint slides two to a page. In order to do this, you simply go to File, Print Settings, Handouts, and then select the two-slide view, and it will look similar to what you see on the right-hand side of this page. If you're creating questions that are a review of curriculum content, then keep the questions as simple as possible. Refer to the who, the why, when, where, and what to keep simple, straightforward questions available to your students. This will keep them on task, and they won't spend too much time trying to figure out the question, but rather they'll move to the responses instead. If you're using the questions in Google Translate to help your students to build their communication skills, then try to write questions that are open-ended and engaging. I've listed 9 questions here for you just to show you some examples. And of course, the questions could vary depending on the age of your students. These were written for students that are in elementary school. So question 1 is, what is your favorite thing about playing with your friends? Question number 2, if you could be any animal, which animal would you be and why? Question number 3, what is one thing you do well? As you can see, the questions are open-ended. They allow the students to think on a personal level about how to answer the questions. Here are additional questions that could be used by students when they've started a new academic year, or perhaps when they have a new student who's come to the class. Some of the questions could be, what do you want to be when you grow up? What is your favorite place in the world? What makes you happy? And this is a different one. If you opened up a store, what would you sell? And of course, this allows students to think about what they would prefer to sell and share a little bit of information about themselves. As you start to dive into augmented reality, you'll see there are plenty of apps available to you. I do recommend using the Google Translate app for several reasons. First, you'll be able to practice your technology skills and app skills, and the Google Translate app is very reliable and dependable. So you wouldn't have to worry too much about whether the technology would work. Secondly, you've probably already used Google Translate and you can build on your own technology skills. And when you're using technology, especially if it's new to you, you want to set yourself up for success. We know that there are so many fails that could happen with technology. It's important to try to use something that you'll be successful at, especially the first time out, so that as you continue to use it, you'll be able to address any issues that may arise. And finally, start on a very small scale, and then as you increase your skills, increase your use and the application of technology resources. I'd like to talk about a fun activity to use with Google Translate, and your students could use this at just about any grade level, probably starting at 4th grade, 5th grade, in order to become creators rather than consumers. So we think about students as designers, and using Google Translate is a really simple way to get students engaged in the design process. So the first time you use Google Translate, you did all the work. You wrote all the questions, you designed it all, you printed it all out so that the students could simply be the consumers of the technology. Well, this time, what if you allow students to write their own questions? So they take the idea and they do what you did. They decide on the types of questions, they write the questions, they type them into Microsoft Word, and then they use the translation feature in Microsoft Word to translate the questions to whatever language they choose to. This is going to be a simple and easy process for the students to follow along with. And it's a very similar strategy to making flashcards. And we know that if students create their own flashcards, that's part of the review process, and it helps them to retain the materials. When students use Google Translate, it allows them to engage on a different design level and to think critically about the different types of questions they want to include. And this in turn will help them to review the curriculum content. This concludes my presentation on using augmented reality integration strategies, specifically Google Classroom, in elementary teaching. I hope you try using Google Classroom, and I hope that you're successful at it. Thank you.